Canada's bold move just redefined the rules, how the Great North is breaking free in the electric vehicle revolution by Future Mobility Insider. The snow-covered streets of Ottawa fell silent on that December morning in 2023. Inside the Parliament building, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau unveiled what industry experts now call Operation Northern Circuit, perhaps the most ambitious economic transformation in North America this century. For generations, we've been the quiet partner, supplying raw materials while others built the future, Trudeau declared to a packed room of investors and industry leaders. Today, Canada steps into the driver's seat of the global electric vehicle revolution. What few realized then was that this announcement represented years of strategic planning triggered by the EV tax credits in the US Inflation Reduction Act. Canada's response, far from a defensive reaction, has proven to be a masterclass in economic chess. It began with an urgent conference call at 4:30 in the morning. They're excluding our EVs from the credits. We need options. Canada's Minister of Innovation received this alert just hours before Washington announced modifications to EV incentives that threatened to cripple Canada's emerging electric vehicle industry. What Washington's strategists failed to anticipate was Canada's comprehensive response. Rather than merely negotiating exemptions, a specialized task force of Canadian industrial planners launched what they internally called Project Voltaic Independence. The US tax credit exclusions were meant to pressure us into subordinate status in the EV supply chain, explains Dr. Margaret Chen, lead economist at the Royal Bank of Canada. Instead, they catalyzed the most significant industrial transformation in our history. While the world fixated on China's dominance of battery materials, Canada quietly mobilized its mining sector. The Canadian Critical Minerals Strategy wasn't just a policy document, it became the blueprint for a complete supply chain revolution. In British Columbia alone, 18 new mining operations received expedited permits targeting lithium, cobalt, nickel and rare earth elements essential for EV production. The James Bay Lithium project in Quebec now rivals Nevada's largest operations, with production capacity expected to reach 321,000 tons annually by 2026. We're not just digging holes, says Michael Gravel, Ontario's Minister of Northern Development. We're building integrated processing facilities that transform raw materials into battery-grade components without ever crossing a border. The results speak volumes. Canada's critical mineral production has surged 78% since 2022, positioning the country to supply up to 40% of North America's EV battery material needs by 2030. Move over Silicon Valley. Canada's Battery Valley, stretching from Windsor to Montreal, represents North America's fastest-growing industrial corridor. The centerpiece, Northvolt's $7 billion gigafactory in Quebec, which broke ground in 2023, with projected annual capacity of 60 GWh, enough to power 1 million electric vehicles. This facility embodies Canada's ambition to control the entire battery value chain. We chose Canada for 3 reasons, explains Northvolt CEO Peter Carlson: abundant clean energy, direct access to critical minerals, and a government willing to match words with actions. The Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association reports that 27 major battery component manufacturers have established operations along this corridor since 2023, creating a self-sufficient ecosystem that reduces dependency on both Asian and US supply chains. While critics questioned Canada's ability to power an EV revolution, the nation has leveraged its greatest natural asset, hydroelectric capacity. Hydro-Quebec's Phase 2 expansion, completed ahead of schedule in 2024, added 5.2 gigawatts of carbon-free electricity production. Meanwhile, British Columbia's Site C Dam project now supplies dedicated power to mining and processing operations. Our electricity costs for battery production run 41% below competing US facilities, notes Stella Lee, president of BYD America, which established its first North American factory in Ontario. That's a competitive advantage no tax credit can overcome. Even more impressive is the nationwide grid modernization initiative that's created Canada's first coast-to-coast smart grid, enabling efficient power distribution to manufacturing hubs with 99.98% reliability. Perhaps the most strategic element of Canada's EV master plan has been the transformation of its logistics infrastructure. The Port of Vancouver's electric vehicle export terminal, completed in 2024 at a cost of $1.2 billion, features specialized facilities for battery electric vehicle shipping that reduce handling time by 62% compared to conventional terminals. We're bypassing traditional routes entirely, explains Carrie Horner, Vancouver Port Authority CEO. Canadian-made EVs now ship directly to European and Asian markets without transiting through US ports. The numbers tell the story. Shipping costs for Canadian EVs to European markets have dropped 27% since 2023, while transit times have been reduced by nearly 2 weeks. While infrastructure grabbed headlines, Canada's most powerful move may have been its strategic approach to human capital. The EV Workforce Initiative, launched in partnership with universities across 5 provinces, has graduated over 14,000 specialized engineers and technicians since 2023. Meanwhile, Canada's revamped immigration system has fast-tracked over 22,000 skilled workers specifically for the EV sector. We're not just building factories, we're building brainpower, says Dr. Hassan Yousuf, Canada's Labour Minister. Our talent pipeline now produces more battery engineers per capita than any country except South Korea. This approach has yielded unexpected dividends. 3 major EV startups previously headquartered in California relocated their research and development operations to Toronto in 2024, citing access to specialized talent as the primary motivation. Perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of Canada's EV strategy has been its approach to Indigenous partnerships. The First Nations Sustainable Resource Development Corporation, established in 2023 with $3.7 billion in federal funding, has transformed how mining and manufacturing projects proceed on traditional lands. This isn't consultation, it's co-ownership, explains Grand Chief Stuart Phillip of the Union of BC Indian Chiefs. Indigenous communities now hold equity stakes averaging 27% in major EV projects across our territories. The Tarleton Nation's partnership with Stellantis in northern British Columbia exemplifies this approach. Their co-managed lithium operation not only ensures environmental standards exceed regulations, but delivers direct economic benefits to the community. We've created a model where prosperity is shared and sustainability is non-negotiable, notes Catherine McKenna, former Environment Minister and architect of the partnership framework. While building domestic capacity, Canada executed a diplomatic masterstroke that fundamentally altered North American trade dynamics. By simultaneously negotiating preferential EV trade agreements with the European Union and Japan while leveraging CUSMA or USMCA provisions, Canada created what trade experts call a spiderweb advantage. Canada now sits at the center of a unique trade network that gives its EV manufacturers preferential access to markets representing 67% of global demand explains international trade attorney Christian Manuel. No other country, not even China, has achieved this position. The crown jewel, Canada's 2024 Comprehensive Economic Partnership with South Korea, which created a bilateral battery technology exchange while securing zero-tariff access for Canadian electric vehicles to the world's sixth largest automotive market. The results of Canada's strategy have shocked economic forecasters. From a modest 2% of North American EV production in 2022, Canadian facilities now account for 23% of all electric vehicles manufactured on the continent. More significantly, Canadian-made EVs command price premiums averaging 7% in international markets due to their clean energy production credentials. What we're witnessing isn't just industrial policy. It's a fundamental recalibration of economic power in North America, observes Dr. Elizabeth Warren, Senior Fellow at the Brookings Institution. Canada has transformed from resource supplier to innovation leader in less than 5 years. The impacts extend beyond manufacturing statistics. Since 2023, Toronto has attracted over $12 billion in EV-focused venture capital, emerging as North America's second-largest hub for electric mobility startups. Meanwhile, Canadian pension funds have divested from traditional automotive investments to create specialized EV innovation portfolios exceeding $40 billion. As Canadian EVs gain market share globally, the question remains, will the United States adapt its approach to embrace partnership or continue pursuing policies that inadvertently strengthen its northern neighbor? The irony is striking, notes former U.S. Secretary of Transportation Mary Peters. Policies designed to contain China's EV dominance have instead created a new automotive powerhouse right across our border. Recent signals suggest a potential recalibration. The proposed North American Electric Vehicle Alliance, introduced in Congress last month, would harmonize standards and incentives across both countries, a tacit acknowledgement that competition has become counterproductive. Meanwhile, Canada continues executing its strategy with characteristic determination. Phase 2 of Operation Northern Circuit, unveiled last quarter, focuses on autonomous vehicle technology and advanced battery recycling, areas where Canadian research institutions already hold significant intellectual property advantages. We're not looking to replace anyone, Prime Minister Trudeau emphasized in his recent address to the Montreal Economic Forum. But the era of Canada being taken for granted in the automotive sector is definitively over. What's your take on Canada's EV strategy? Is this the beginning of a new balance of power in North America? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe to Future Mobility Insider for our upcoming special report, The Northern Lights of Innovation Inside Canada's EV Laboratory.